Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong, I am your host, and I am so grateful to be able to introduce to you Clint De Figueiredo. Now, in this episode, we talk through a lot of things, and I think one element that I wanted to bring to this podcast is not just focusing around, pursuing passions and side hustles, but also around finding that passion and that lifestyle in an industry or in the normal 9 to 5 that a lot of us sometimes aspire to get out of as quick as possible because, we want to chase our own dreams and goals and aspirations. Well, in this case, that's what it's all about, is you can have your goals, aspirations, and dreams within the normal 9 to 5. And that's what we talk about today. We touch on a number of different things. We touch on sport, mentorship, and, even navigating that career path, or what we do like to call is career mapping. Now, Clint he's gone through a number of different roles, and he's been on an amazing journey to find and really niche down into that, I guess, ideal role or passionate role that he is passionate about. The key thing about this episode is we talk about, taking action and how you can do something of a similar nature in navigating your career and finding the path that meets your needs. It's been an absolute honor to have Clint join this episode, and I'm looking forward for you to be able to hear what he has to say and also take away some of the nuggets and some of the great information we cover. So buckle up, grab a cup of tea or coffee or whatever floats your boat, and get ready for this one because it is awesome. Now, don't forget, we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Spotify, and we do have the YouTube experience as well. If you are looking for that video experience, of course, if you just want to listen, that's fine by me. All right, well, let's not muck around. Let's jump straight into it. Get comfortable, get cozy, wherever you are, and let's jump straight into it. Hi, Clint. Welcome. It's so good to finally have you here. And, you've been a big part of the brand of Further Your Lifestyle and Furrii for a very long time. So it's great to finally get you in front of the camera and to be able to have a chat. So how are you?
No, awesome. Thanks for having me. And I'm wearing the cap as well, so representing. It says "Why not?" if you can't read that
Good
backwards.
man,
But
good man.
yes, definitely always representing where I can and trying to promote your brand and the message behind it wherever I can too. So no, I've been quite well. So obviously living down here in Tassie, we've had it pretty good, I must say, in terms of COVID and everything that's been happening in the past 12 months. So just really grateful to be able to be employed and working, and to be able to have some of the freedoms, I guess, that others haven't enjoyed. So just really taking all that in, and just really, like I said, just being grateful that, we're able to do and continue doing the things that we enjoy doing.
That's it. And there's a bit of I guess it's a bit of a joke from the mainland side. There's always that thing around me being in Melbourne, it's the mainland and Tassie being separated on this little island. And, I guess in this case, you guys are the ones probably laughing because, the rest of Australia kind of looked like a bit of a joke when you guys were kind of just, you're kind of separated from us, and it made you guys look pretty good. So kudos.
We are, yeah. But we're pretty humble here. So yeah, I guess we're just fortunate that we've got this moat around us to keep people at bay. So no, it's been a blessing, I guess. Probably one of the only times where being isolated on islands worked in our favor. So yeah, it's definitely something we can't complain about in this instance.
That's it. No, that's really good, man. And let's talk about you. So you've already mentioned you're in Tasmania. You're just out of Hobart, not far from Hobart, I guess. And but you yourself, what are you all about? Maybe a quick background summary. Have you always been in Tassie, or how have you grown up, or what's your education? Just kind of a nutshell of you.
Yeah, definitely. No, so only been living in Tassie for the last 4 years. So originally born and raised Victorian, and love living in Victoria. It's still, got a special place in my heart. But once I met my wife, we decided to make the move. So she's Tasmanian, but did what most Tasmanians do when they turn 18 and move to the mainland for a different experience and to get out of a small town and experience the big city. So she had been living there 7-8 years, and we'd been dating probably just over 12 months, and coming to Tassie over the holidays, the Christmas period, to see her family. And I guess she just put it out there, how would you feel about a sea change and moving down? And at first, admittedly, I was quite apprehensive. I wasn't ready to leave Melbourne and move to a smaller city, but 12 months later, I was like, yep, you know what, let's do it. Let's make the leap. We've got nothing to lose, and haven't looked back since. So the lifestyle here is just incredible. I do enjoy the slow pace, I must admit. Lifestyle, the fresh air, the people, the surrounds. You know, we've got the mountainside, we've got the rivers. We have snow here, which I experienced, you know, 4 years ago for the first time at ground level. So that was pretty exciting. And yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible place if you haven't visited to be in. So yeah, but that's, I guess, from a personal level. I guess from a professional level, working in state government here now as a project officer, and working for a department called Events TAS. So essentially, we look after and administer the fundings for large to, or from small even to larger scale events. And my role predominantly is looking after, I guess, what we call the special events, which is essentially the sporting portfolio, which is my passion. I love all things sports. So I look after the contract for the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, who are a professional basketball team who are entering the league next season. I look after the women's North Melbourne AFLW side, the Hawthorn Football Club contracts. I was working on the T20 Cricket World Cup until that got postponed, obviously, because of COVID. I was part of the FIFA Women's World Cup bid to have Tasmania host, but unfortunately we weren't selected as one of the final cities. And also at the minute, I was part of the deal to bring A-League content to Tasmania. So we're going to have Western United Football Club play 4 games here over the next 2 seasons, with the first game actually being tonight up in Launceston, which I can't attend, unfortunately, but that's pretty exciting as well. And I guess on the back of that too, was able to facilitate a deal between state government and the NBL to have New Zealand Breakers use Tasmania as their home base for the next 6 weeks. So that's something exciting too. So to be able to bring elites professional sports back to Tasmania, which being a Victorian to go back to, I was quite fortunate we had that every other week, every other day, where it's been sort of lacking here since I've moved, but we're getting that back. So I'm excited about that. And it helps having that passion, because I think it shows in my work and the effort I put into it as well. So that's kind of a nutshell, I suppose, in my current day-to-day. Obviously, my background is PR, marketing, communications. Education-wise, I started at Holmes Went TAFE, which I thought was an amazing experience. And I'd highly recommend for people that are looking to get into tertiary education to start off at TAFE, because it is more hands-on than theoretical, which I found I engaged a lot better in, and got a deeper understanding, I guess, into what I wanted to do, because it wasn't just all, I guess, theory-based. You were able to sort of do real-life case studies and work with, I guess, real-life clients and businesses. And then from there, I transitioned to Monash University and did a Bachelor of Communications. And fast forward 10 years, I've gone back into education and started my MBA, my Masters of Business Administration, which is something I've always wanted to do, and didn't, I guess, look tangible or feasible at the time when I finished my undergrad. But I think COVID just really fast forwarded that. And I thought, you know what, you can't put off doing things you want to do anymore, because it can get taken away at any second. So I decided to do that last year, and 6 months down the line, I'm really enjoying it, and really glad that I took that step and started it. So that's kind of, yeah, me in a nutshell, I suppose, from a professional level.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And there's lots there. And, hearing, you relocating to Tasmania, that's a big jump. I think with anyone, there comes a point in life where, we do have to make that decision, even if it is just moving away away from your family, or not having that closeness, and then, taking the plunge and, I guess, treading your own path. So, that's pretty exciting. And I can vouch for Tassie. I've got family in Tassie, and I lived in Tassie for a few months, and it's a beautiful place. I love it there. It really is beautiful. So I can agree with you. Anyone that hasn't been there, go check it out, because it's good stuff. And
definitely,
I loved how you said that, you've been working or in charge of special projects, and that in itself just sounds super cool. And obviously we know what it is, and you're working in the sports industry, around bringing the big stuff down to Tasmania. And for context, for those that maybe don't know, Tasmania has always, I guess, lacked or been left to the side when it comes to having the big A game sports down there, or just the big names at least anyway. And, you know, to be part of that, and as you mentioned, being your passion, you know, you're very passionate around sport, but then applying your skills and your education that you've been able to, you know, grow over the years and work in that industry, and then be part of something that's actually going to make a difference in that industry. I mean, that in itself is just super cool. So kudos to you, man, because it's not every day people can leverage their, I guess, their skills and get into a passion of get into an industry that they're passionate about. Most of the time they make the compromise and they're just like, oh, I'm good at accounting, I'll just do accounting, and, you know, blah, da, da, da. But, you know, what you've been able to do, which I know we're going to get into, is you've been able to navigate, you've been able to, you know, make some moves to progressing to getting where you want to be. And it's taken a while, as you said, you know, 10 years later and whatnot. And now you're in a place where, you know, you're kicking butt and you're feeling like you're the king of the world, well, what it sounds like. And, you know, I'm excited for you. And yeah, congrats on that, dude, because it's a long time coming, but I think, well, I'd like to think it's probably worth it, right?
Yeah, thank you. No, definitely it is. And it's like anything, it just takes time, I suppose. I mean, some people, I guess, are fortunate to get into what they want to do a lot sooner. And admittedly, I probably just didn't have the work ethic or the proper business acumen to get into what I wanted to do at a younger age. You know, I was probably naive and thought that, you know, just because you go to TAFE or university and earn your diploma or degree, that people are just going to offer you a job, that, you know, you don't need to go out there and put your name out there and hustle and call people and follow up and do all those networking things that you need to do to be able to get your foot in the door. So it was one of those things, I guess, that now, I guess that I'm a little bit older, I've learned that, you know, if you really want something, you have to go out there and put yourself out there and really just, you know, hustle to get to where you want to be, because nobody, I guess, will hand these opportunities to you. You have to be able to find them. And I guess, like they say, the harder you work, you know, more opportunities come your way. So yeah, it's one of those things where it has taken time, and you know, sometimes it's a good thing, because you do learn from that.
Yeah, and I think you said it quite well, because yes, we can take the typical route of, you know, you go to uni and you get a job, and, you know, kind of, I'm not always, and I'm not saying it's that easy, but there is this level of defaultness where, you know, you go get your bachelor's degree, a company will hire you, and you know, it's almost like it's almost a given, right? And you're going to get into a job, you know, that's all fine. But then when it comes down to, you know, taking the different lens or perspective around, well, is it in the industry you want to be? Are you passionate about it? Is it what you originally planned? That becomes another whole ball game, right? As you've just said, because you've got to get out there. You've actually got to have the conversations. You've got to do the hard work. You've got to network, and you've got to start to navigate and find your way there, because no one is going to give you that. There is that odd chance where people will land their dream job just because that's how it's worked out. But, you know, the chances of that aren't always going to be straight away. So, I mean, look, straight off the cuff then. So you know, you said that you studied communications and whatnot back in, you know, when you first did TAFE and whatnot, but what did you actually want to do when you left high school? Like, you know, back then, what was the idea of what you wanted to do?
There was a few different routes I wanted to take, and I probably didn't have the grades. So initially I wanted to be a journalist, in all honesty. So yeah, I wanted to be a sports journalist when I sort of was doing high school and did subjects. I really enjoyed doing English, and I did literature, and really enjoyed reading and writing. And I thought that was the path I wanted to take. But yeah, I guess I just didn't have the grades initially to get into the courses that I wanted to do, and probably didn't do enough research to take an alternative route down that path. And then funnily enough, I initially started a Bachelor of Technology straight out of high school, because I wanted to get into videography and video editing, which fast forward 15 years and how big sort of social media is, and YouTube and video content. I wish I, you know, stuck at it, but admittedly, the course had a subject which was statistics, and I hated maths, and probably still don't have a like for maths. And I just thought, you know what, I didn't sign up to do videography and editing to do maths. So I ended up dropping out, I think, a week before my exams. So yeah, that was, you know, kind of that dream squashed for a little bit, and decided to just take a couple of years off, because I thought, you know what, I'm not ready to get into further education straight after high school. Like, mentally, I just wasn't there, to be honest. I didn't have the mindset. it was just one of those things where I guess it's just ingrained where you finish high school and you have those pressures to go to university or TAFE. And for me, I just thought I'm not ready for this, and decided to take, I think, 2 years off to just work and party and do those sort of things when you're 18, 19 and been at school for so long. So yeah, it wasn't really until I was 20 that I decided to go back to education. And when I was looking up courses, there was something about public relations that really stood out, and networking and stakeholder relations, and something about just communicating with others that stood out to me and resonated with me. And I thought, you know what, this sounds like a good course. I'd really like to give it a try. And yeah, it was something that I really enjoyed because it was something personal about it, and it was something about I guess just building those relationships with others and with businesses that I thought, you know what, I might actually be good at this.
Yeah, no, dude, that's really cool, that story, because what I took from that was I mean, like anyone, we get out of high school and then you're going straight into the education, but it sounds like you had a really good, strong sense of self-awareness, right? Because you realize that, hang on, you could have weighed up and you could have tried and just pushed through and just done the technology stuff for the sake of doing it, but you've realized that, well, this isn't you, and there's no point proceeding, and you've been able to realize when to cut off, like to say no, let's take a step away. And then hearing that you have taken some time off as well, and that can sometimes be a little scary to hear. And I didn't do it personally. I wanted to get straight into uni and whatnot, but I think it's a really important thing to hear for the listeners, especially, is because there's no right or wrong way to do this, right? In terms of how you build your career or go into the big world, because it's scary stuff. And I think for those that are taking that time away, the gap year or longer, I think it's important, because it sounds like you really did just need to find yourself and just experience life a bit. And you mentioned around the mental pressures and all that, and it's something which I think it probably wasn't spoken about as much back then either, right? And I think obviously now it's a big topic in the workplace around how we are mentally, and how we're taking that into the workplace and outside of it, with work-life balance and things like that. So I think it's really good that you've called that out, because I think people should not just follow the norm. And what I mean by that is, it's fine to be doing the 9 to 5, but it's also fine to be doing hustles. But the key thing is to find yourself and to follow your dreams and your passions. And if that's working in, as you're doing now, working in the industry around sport, and you're doing PR, communications, and all that relationship management, that's fine and that's perfect, because you have gotten where you wanted to be. And you didn't really know that until you kind of started to navigate from an early age. So I think it's really good that you took those steps. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that's happened between that, so it's not as easy as just like you've done 1, 2, 3, skip a few. But I think that really helps set up the type of person that you are, because I know from our own conversations that you are very you take action in terms of planning and where you want to be, and you try and work out the steps to get there, which is a really good thing to do, because it can become a bit of a trap of like, we get in planning mode too much, but nothing ever happens, where you've actually realized okay, this isn't what I want, but how am I going to get to where I want? So you pivot, or you navigate across. So I think that's probably the next thing I kind of want to talk to you about. And you don't have to go into so much detail, but I know you have had a lot of different jobs, and you've shuffled around, and you've had to some of it has been planned and some of it hasn't been planned. So maybe let's touch on that a little bit. When it has come to job navigation or changes, what's that experience like? Obviously there's the level of you doing it versus you being laid off, and how have you gone through that process? Or maybe you can even share some of the different jobs that you have done if you want.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's one of those ones now where I guess for me anyway, sticking at I mean, when I first got into the workplace, I always saw myself as a lifer. So every job I take, I always approach, I'm going to be here for the long haul type of thing. Like I envision myself being there, for the next 5 to 10 years and beyond type of thing, and just progressing up the ladder, so to speak, over time. But it's just become one of those things now where I'm knowing what skills I'm bringing, what experience I have, and I'm also knowing what path I want to take and where I want to go type of thing. So I know when I was in Melbourne, I was working for a great company, a licensing and marketing agency called WP Brands, and I learned a lot there. And probably had my first mentor down there as well, whether she knew it or not at the time, but I've kind of told her that now that I'm not working for her. But it was one of those places where it was a really good introduction into how I should be conducting myself in the workplace and how I should be not behaving professionally, but just the way I should carry myself professionally. And it really sort of instilled this different work ethic in me, and really just taught us, I guess, not to be a perfectionist, I suppose, but to put out quality, like the quality of work you're putting out is really important. And the things that I saw as simple as and not important, they're the important stuff, the small stuff that makes a difference. And as frustrating as it could get at times, even if it was just formatting a simple Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, it taught us that, if we're putting this out there, it needs to be to a high standard type of thing. So I was really grateful for that opportunity, and to spend like almost 2.5 years there, it really taught us a lot. But from there, obviously moving to Tassie, it's been quite different. And in the 4 years, I've held 4 different roles here for 4 different companies, which I know might not sound the best, but for me, it's finding, I guess, what's right for me. I don't want to just come here and work type of thing. I want to come here and enjoy what I'm doing and be passionate about what I'm doing, because I think that's going to show in my output and the level in which I'm going to be engaged in my work. Because there's a lot of roles there where you can just tick the boxes and you can tick all the selection criteria. But I want to be able to do more than that. I want to be able to go above and beyond, and really be invested, because you spend more time in the office than what you do at home with your family and your friends. So if I'm going to be there, I'm going to, I want to enjoy it as well, type of thing. So but when I moved here, I worked in a marketing and creative agency, which was a really good experience. I mean, I was only there for 8 months, I believe, but it got me to experience Tassie as a whole. So clients I got to work with were based in the north and in the south, and even in the northwest as well. So I got to get in the car and go and see these clients and not be, I guess, just Hobart based. It really expanded my learnings about different parts of Tasmania, different people, different businesses. It gave me a really good insight into, I guess, how the market is here, because working in Melbourne in a bigger city and working in Tassie in the smaller city, there are a lot of differences. And my approach, I guess, when I first came, I came in with this brazen, I guess, Melbourne attitude, I suppose, and a lot of the clients picked up on that. And it wasn't me being cocky or arrogant. I guess it was just the way I was carrying myself, because that's how you do it in the bigger city type of thing. And the way you dress, and I like to dress nice. I like to wear a suit or a blazer to work and a shirt type of thing. And I guess a lot of the clients I was working with were a smaller scale in comparison to the ones I was working with in Melbourne, where they were, I guess, global clients and larger scale. And I guess it was just a matter of me being able to adapt and change my approach and really tailor, I guess, the way I did business with different businesses down here as well. So that was a good sort of education into the Tasmanian market, and I think really held us in good stead to the way I approach my next roles, and the way I probably carry myself now in that aspect too. And so I guess from there I moved to an in-house role. So after working in an agency, I felt a little bit burnt out. I feel, because you're dealing with multiple clients and multiple deadlines and multiple budgets and multiple personalities, and you're constantly being, pushed and pulled and tugged in different directions. And to be honest, I felt burnt out, and I just wanted to go in-house and work for the one business, focus on them wholeheartedly. So I took up a marketing manager role for a seafood restaurant down here that's pretty large and pretty well known, and has a deep history in Tassie. And admittedly, it was a smaller team. I was essentially a team of one, which was different because I'd never sort of been in that position before. And but it was good because it gave me a lot of sort of autonomy, and I got to wear multiple caps. So I wasn't just a marketing manager; I was a social media manager. I was, looking after the budgets. I was, photographer as well, and that's kind of where that spurred my interest in photography, and where I got to sort of pick up skills I didn't know I had, or didn't think I could do before. So it gave us those sort of opportunities where in the past, I guess, I was blessed to work with people with those other resources. And I guess graphic design as well was a skill I needed to pick up as well. But that was an experience. And same thing, I was probably there for 12 months, and I just thought, you know what, I need to go somewhere a little bit larger with a bit more resources and other people that I can sort of feed ideas off and learn from as well, because I like to be around others, I guess, where I can learn from them. And I always like to be sort of around other, people more knowledgeable than me. So yeah, from there I was quite lucky that I got to work for Tourism Tasmania, which was quite a great experience. So if I've got time, if it be short, so Tourism Tasmania basically look after all the marketing and promotional aspects of Tasmania. So if you see anything out in the market, basically promoting Tasmania and to attract visitation, and you might see in Melbourne yourself some billboards or TVCs or radio digital campaigns, that all happens within the four walls of Tourism Tasmania. So my role there was I was a marketing partnership officer, and I worked with the events down here in Tassie to be able to sort of amplify their messaging and their events through what we were doing. And I also got to work on our winter campaign, which was a pretty amazing experience itself, to be able to promote Tassie in the winter time. And I know for other destinations that's probably not the norm, but here we really embrace winter. We really want people to come and experience it and see that it is a place that you can come to, and we don't just all hide indoors and and turn on the heater and put on a jacket and a beanie. It's a place where you can do, you know, plenty of things and have a great time. So yeah, that was a really great sort of professional experience, because I got to work with so many skilled and talented people within my department and with our content and creative team, and with our external creative agencies that we've got to work with as well. So from there, that pretty much led me to where I am now in Events Tasmania. And there was a bit of crossover when I was at tourism. I worked with a couple of people that are in the events team that I work with now. So I kind of already had some of that rapport with, I guess, my current colleagues and my, you know, what would have been my future colleagues. So it made the transition a little bit easier, and I got comfortable, and I felt comfortable pretty much straight away from my first day. So yeah, it was a great opportunity, and the opportunity to work at the time on the Cricket World Cup. And I just thought, you know what, I can't pass this up. It's just, it's a global event. It's a global event that we get to promote Tasmania, and we get to promote the games that Tasmania gets to host, and some of the marketing and the PR and the promotional aspects that we're going to do to activate the city, and which we will do in 2022 are going to be pretty amazing. And it's a project that I was quite excited to be a part of. So yeah, it's something I'm looking forward to when that picks up later on this year or early next year to be a part of. But that kind of sparked the, I guess, the career mapping for me, if you want to say, to get a foot in the door in sort of sports administration, and to really be involved in something I'm passionate about, and that's something that, you know, I see myself doing long term in the sector that I want to get my foot in the door in a bit more.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's thanks for all that information, because there's a lot of detail there, but at the same time, there's some really key points which I think will be really relevant for a lot of different people. And I mean, everyone will take it differently. But if we go back, you know, there was some. I mean, one of the questions that I was going to ask you was, you know, like, how do you know when to make a change or to pivot or to navigate or to really, how do you, you know, map this out? But you kind of already answered that, because, you know, you said at the start you started to realize that you're getting burnt out and that this wasn't working. Once again, coming back to that self-awareness, and you know, you were burnt out, and you made the jump to move in-house to focus on, okay, well, this isn't working, but you know, I've got a strong, you know, skill here, so I'll do it in this different, I guess, environment, which is enabling you to grow more. And then getting in there, then you once again, you're out to realize, well, you needed to adjust and change again. And once again, you're hopping. So I guess maybe at a high level, at what point, other than maybe the burnout, like, how are you kind of determining when is the right time versus, is it just because an opportunity pops up, or is it, you know, is there something that you're realizing there's nothing more I'm learning, I need to grow more? Because you did also mention that you put yourself around people that are going to grow you and challenge you, or that, you know, are bigger in their role. So, you know, that's a really good thing. And I think it's great to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because you're going to learn more,
Sure.
right? But I guess, yeah, for you, so like, at what point, how did you realize that? Or was it kind of just, now that you've got hindsight, maybe you can see it clearer, but maybe at the time you didn't even realize?
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes, usually within that first 3 to 6 months, you can really tell, I suppose, how things are going and how you're going within your certain role. And for me, it's whether or not how sort of productive I am and what I'm contributing. So, because I know when you interview or when you read a job description, they're going to obviously put down the top level things that what involved in the role, but there's obviously a lot more that goes into it. So for me, it's always about, okay, is it sort of what was advertised? Is that what I'm doing? And is it a bit more? Is it other opportunities? Is the company culture one that sort of encourages professional growth and professional development? Are there opportunities elsewhere to cross collaborate with other departments and learn from different people? So I know in the previous roles, like when I was saying when I was the marketing manager, it was a small team. It was a small organization, should I say? And there, I just kind of felt like, well, I can kind of see where my ceiling is, and I don't think it's going to get any higher because I was already the marketing manager there. It wasn't like I was going to move up to be a GM or that type of thing. And it was a family-owned business as well, so I already knew that okay, this is kind of my ceiling for the next how many years potentially how it's going to be, and within that, there's opportunities to do things and to be innovative and to do things to help progress the business, but at the same time, I kind of felt like, there's still things I maybe need to learn and that I want to learn. So I need to sort of go out there and work for a bigger organization where you do have that team and that group dynamic and those resources at your disposal, because I don't know everything just yet. I'm not, as much as I like to think I know everything, I don't. And there's still things that I like to learn. So yeah, that was kind of one of the reasons as well. And it's all about output for me, to be honest. If I feel like at the end of the day that I'm contributing, that I'm actually an important part to the direction of the organization moving forward, if I'm being involved in those conversations, then for me, that's a good sign that I like to stick around. But if there's times there where I just feel like I guess I'm a spoke in the wheel or a part in the machine where, where I'm just really there to help keep things moving, then for me, that's kind of a red flag that, I need to go out and pursue other opportunities. Because I am motivated. I like to think if I'm here working for you, use me, to my full extent. I've got these skills and these attributes that I'd like to use. So feel free to use them, take every advantage if you can. And sometimes it gets frustrating when you put your name out there and you're sort of told just to be patient and to wait, and or you might not be needed, but that's okay. I'm kind of learning now that I'm a little bit older and a little bit more experienced that sometimes you do need to be patient. And I think maybe my impatience in the past it's what's led me as well to I guess move to find other opportunities.
Yeah, that's really good. And you mentioned that, that 3 to 6 month mark, depending on the size of the gig, that you're kind of reflecting on, like, is it, are you doing what you told you were going to doing? Are you're comparing it back to, what you signed up for versus what you didn't sign up for? And you're right, because, you can get a job description and yeah, you might be doing the 3 top things, but then there's all this other stuff that isn't on paper. And you're like, hang on a second, like, and I can appreciate that. I understand exactly what you mean. So, but it sounds like you've got a really good, whether you had planned for it or but you've got a really good structure in terms of making sure you are taking that time and coming back to your why and what you're wanting and where you want to go, because back then maybe you didn't know that you wanted to be in the sports industry, but you did know that this isn't what you wanted, right? And you're able to clearly identify that. And I think this is an important exercise. People should do this anyway, reflecting on their goals and ambitions all on a regular basis, whether it's monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, or annually, to be able to see, are they, progressing to where they want to be? And I think that by you doing that, obviously it's enabled you to take the step to the next level of growth and then take the next level of, growth again, because it's not easy to do what you've just said, to come up and say, look, I'm moving on, or to come up and take a new opportunity and you've only been there 3-6 months. That's scary because, there's that whole level of like, oh, what will people think? Versus, it's like, are you letting people down? Or, maybe what the other company might think, oh, you've been in 3 different jobs across, the last 3 years, so there's all that stuff that comes around it. But I think, by taking the steps and you've obviously thought them out and planned them quite well, it's worked out very well for you. But with that, so has this something that you've always done, and I know you mentioned around mentorship and we'll be touching on that anyway, but has that been something that has been taught to you to do, or did you just find that you just naturally jumped onto that and realized this isn't what I want, or had you had advice along the way?
No, it's probably been the last maybe 2.5, 3 years where I've really started to take a proactive sort of step and had a proactive mindset into what is it that I really want in my career. Like, where do I really want to work? Do I want to work just to make money? Do I want to work, just because type of thing, because I tick all the boxes in terms of skills and experience? Or do I want to kind of have that sort of mix of where it's, okay, this is something I enjoy doing, it pays well, and I get to sort of, utilize all my skills and experience and my knowledge in the role itself. And I think moving down to Tassie, that's where I really sort of had that mindset, because I think in Melbourne, you have a few more opportunities because there's a lot more businesses
Yeah.
and a lot of more sort of larger companies that you can go and work for, where I guess in Tassie it is quite limited, I suppose, in that aspect too. So, and that's why I wanted to be a bit more deliberate now, I guess, in my approach, because, it is scary, like you said, and I did have those reservations, like, oh, how's this going to look? What's the perception going to be if, I hand in my resume to a prospective, employer, and they're saying, oh, I can see, you haven't been here for that long. Does that show that, you don't have that longevity in you, or you're just going to leave us after 12 months and then we're going to be back in that, recruitment cycle again type of thing. But it's really me just finding my feet, because I am setting up, Tassie is my home. So if it is going to be my home, I want it to be, I want my career to be as enjoyable as possible. I want to wake up and feel motivated every day to go into the office. I don't want to have Monday-itis type of thing and drag my feet. And I don't have that at the moment. I'm excited for the projects I'm working on, and the clients I get to work with, and how that looks, and it's all sort of taken shape in the last few years. But it's just one of those things where I wish I had a mentor early on in the piece that took me under their wing, and we sat down and had a coffee once a week or once a fortnight, whatever it might be, and they just gave us this advice into if this is where you want to get to, these are the steps you need to be taking. And I've kind of I'm starting to be more proactive in that space, and I'm actively looking for a mentor still. So and I've put that out on LinkedIn. I've spoken to a couple of people, a couple old managers of mine, just to say, hey, I've really sort of respected the way you go about things, and I've really learned a lot from you. And I've been speaking with one of my old managers from Melbourne, quite recently, and just getting her advice as well, because I really respect the way she's gone about her business, and learned a lot from her. So we still have our catch-ups every now and then, but locally I'd like someone still that I could sort of just sit down with and have those conversations with. But in the meantime, it's it's just doing a lot of reading and a lot of research, and just taking it not as it comes, but just mapping out sort of where I'd like to go, and still enjoying what I'm doing, because I think that helps a lot too.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, success leaves clues, right? And being able to have, whether it's just reading from a book or hearing from other people that have done it themselves, or just seeing people in the same industry, make their moves, it does help, right? Because it's always good to be able to sit back and listen, because you can learn so much from it. And coming back to you jumping around and whatnot, so you've been in Tassie for what was 4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it will be this year.
Yeah. So, which really isn't a very long time when you're thinking about if you're going to work, 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line. When you're thinking about it, it's really just early days. It's like when you go through you're doing a uni course, they're usually 3-4 years, and you come out of that and you really, I mean, yes, you have an education, but you don't really know anything in the work environment, right? Like, until you get your hands, wet, or your feet wet or whatever, like, you don't really know what you don't know until you have that experience. So really, you're probably starting to get to that point where now you're getting to that next level of like, okay, this is something can be serious, but you'd never know what's going to happen down the line, because once again, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know the opportunities coming. But I think your perspective, I mean, your approach that you said around, you go into a role thinking that you're here for the long game, because I think that's a really good attitude. And I encourage, especially the younger ones listening to this, that when it comes to this, having that attitude of going in to get the best out of it, to give your all, I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, we've already touched on that, the chances of getting that dream job, that chances of getting that exact thing down the line, or you coming out of university and wanting to be a project manager for this, or those things don't just happen overnight. And I think being able to get in there, understand what it's going to take to get there, or what does that even look like, and navigate towards it, because at the end of the day, we do own our own life, right? We need to take the action. No one's going to necessarily pull you up. There might be people that can give you a push, like give you a bit of a bump and help you, or maybe they are pulling you up in terms of taking your hand and say, yeah, come with me. But you need to be the one that takes the action and takes the steps. And I think this is very evident of what you're doing. And coming back to the mentorship piece, I know you're very passionate about it. And I don't think I asked you this last time, but are you mentoring anyone yourself, or?
Yeah, two people at work, whether they know it or not. But yeah, I've made a really conscious effort to make sure that we catch up at least once a month for a coffee. And I basically just ask them, basically how they're settling in, what are they enjoying? Is there anything they're not enjoying? Is there anything I'd like to know? Because they're I guess two relatively new people to the government landscape. So it's kind of me just helping them navigate through that initial early process, and really just give them a bit of guidance that sort of I wish I had in those early stages of my career. Just somebody just having a casual conversation and really taking an interest, I suppose, in my career. So and that's what I'm trying to do for them. I'm just there as a sounding board, in all honesty. And if there's anything advice-wise or guidance-wise that I can give them, then I'm more than happy to share that with them. And so far it seems to be going well, and they seem to both be engaged and asking a lot of good questions, and really just being quite active in sort of taking that approach. And it's been something that I've enjoyed, because I kind of see myself in them in that regards. And it's not about me kind of pushing what I want into them. It's just me saying, what is it that you want, and what is it that I can potentially help get out of you? And just really understanding, okay, if this is the direction you're looking to go down, then okay, let's see what I can do to help guide you there, in some small way, type of thing. And whether or not that's just me just listening, or putting you in contact, or bringing you along to a networking event, or just showing you, hey, these are some of the projects I'm working on, this is why we're doing the things we do, these are the conversations we're having. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's a little bit sort of not difficult, I guess, in some specs in government, because you are kind of boxed into your job scope. So it's hard to bring people across from different departments into some of the work you're doing. But, I've said to them, if there's opportunities for you just to tag along to a meeting with me and just sit down and really just listen and see, what happens in this environment, I think that's, that'd be, a great experience for them, because that's what I learned in my initial phases. But that was me asking, hey, can I tag along to this meeting, with some of my higher managers and senior people that I worked with, because I thought this is the only place I'm going to learn, if I'm sitting in these meetings with you, and understanding how you approach your conversations, some of the questions you ask, the problems you're looking for, the solutions that you might come up with. And for me, even now, some of those meetings where I get to sit in with some of the senior execs, I'm just like just taking it all in. I've got my notepad and taking notes and going, okay, I didn't think of that question that you asked, but maybe next time I'll start looking for those those little gaps in conversation, or gaps in presentations, and keeping that that eye and that attention to detail that maybe I don't have yet. But the more I'm involved, the more I can learn. So for me, it's always about giving that back, and I'm always about sort of knowledge sharing. I'm not one of these people to keep it all to myself and go, no, I'm or insecure that this if I'm giving them all this information that they're going to come up and take my job. It's nothing to do with that. I just for me, and I read a great quote, and it's leaders create other leaders, and that's what I'm looking to do. And if I can be in that position to do that, then then I'm going to do it.
Oh, that's brilliant, dude. And like you've summed it up really, really well, because it's like I've always, when working as well, I've always told, I'll have a grad with me and say, I need you to come take some minutes or take notes in the meeting. And I know some people, they're like, oh, I don't want to take notes. I want to do some real work. Yeah. But, you don't realize the benefit of that until you've been in the industry for 5 years, 7 years, or whatever, because you realize that's how you absorb, that's how you learn. And you're going to have to take notes, whether you're a junior or a manager anyway, because if you're meeting with a client, it's got to be done. And having someone else do it and take it in, that's the best way to learn, because you're hearing all the jargon, you're hearing all the conversations. It might not make sense, but then all of a sudden you're like, aha, boom, boom, boom. Things start clicking and things start falling into place. And, you've said it really well. And I encourage anyone else is, leveraging those opportunities to sit in meetings, or, to take notes, or to, even do some of those summary briefings and things like that. It all helps you learn quicker and more, because, hey, you're learning more or getting access to people that someone else doesn't, which in the longer run will help you grow quicker, because once again, you don't know what you don't know. So if you're being able to take that on, I think it's super important. And
exactly. And it's all about, like I was saying, it's being in the room with people more knowledgeable than you. It's the best way to learn, I find. And yeah, and that's why and even now, I'm still just looking for those opportunities where I can be in those rooms with those types of people, because one day I want to be that type of person. So for me, it's still about just trying to get my foot in the door that way, and bringing something to the table too. It's not just about me going in there. I need to be able to, value add if I'm going to be in there. Taking a seat in the meeting, I need to be able to know that I can contribute something as well when it's my time to, to do so, type of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But I just feel like,
just, I mean, I don't want to dive too much into the mentorship, because you touched it really well, and I think you summarized it really well as well. But, maybe if there was, for someone that was looking for a mentor, and it doesn't have to be your approach, but just as in general, what would be 3 things, someone should try and look for when they're looking for a mentor? Just off the top of your head, what would be 3 things?
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone, I guess, older age-wise or experience-wise. It can be your fellow colleague that's in the same position as well, because they might be coming from a background or a different experience that you could learn from, and vice versa too. But I think number 1 is just somebody that you're comfortable with, first and foremost, because you do want it to be a relaxed environment. I guess the people that I'm speaking with, I don't want it to be kind of too formal, like an interview, where it's just like, okay, here's my question, here's your response, here's my follow-up question, here's your response. I want it to be like, hey, can we just go grab a coffee? Let's talk about, hey, how's your partner, how's your dog, how's your child, type of thing. And then we get into, so what's happening at work, what are some things that you're enjoying, blah, 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 what it might be. So I think that's probably the first thing, is to find someone that you think that you'd be quite comfortable actually being around, because for them it's, and that they'll be comfortable around you also, because they're giving up their time, I guess, to spend with you as well. So you want to make sure that they're going to be enjoying the time, not clock watching and going, I've only got 5 minutes, let's make it quick, type of thing. You want to know that they're going to be there and, take the time to be there with you, type of thing. What's the second thing I suppose I'd look for? Someone that's got the skills and experience that you feel like you're lacking, type of thing. So somebody that that you're going to learn from, because you can go, hey, they've got skills in graphic design, photography, in, just networking, those types of things. Because that's what I find, they're kind of the things I'm looking for in the people that I'm looking for in a mentor, because it's obviously skills that I want, and I can see there's skills that you have. So how do I go about in obtaining those skills? How did you go down to obtaining those skills? So that's another thing. That I guess I'll look for, just somebody with those gaps that that can fill for you as well. It's a tricky one. The third thing that you look for, I guess I haven't really reflected on this too much, but I guess if it's an industry you're looking to get into, somebody from that industry, or somebody that knows someone in that industry. So if you're working in government like I am, but want to go into art, or want to go into sports, and want to go into theatre, whatever it might be, reach out to someone from that industry, because obviously they've got the ins and outs, type of thing. And I know it might sound obvious, but that's the thing, if you're sort of looking ahead to where you want to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And once again, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I think it's just, whether it's young people or, just anyone looking for a mentor, to hear it from someone else, I think that just gives some great perspective. And some of it would probably come across as common sense, but I don't think it will also, because if you've never had a mentor, you're probably thinking, well, who do I go to, right? And, you know, some of my mentors are just, you know, some are good friends that we just have a, you know, a bit of a vent, a rant every, you know, once a month and just chit chat just because we need to offload. And a lot of the time we probably actually already know the answers or the actions we need to take, but we just need to have that bouncing board, right? And I think that's what it's all about, is just being able to have someone to talk to that you admire or look up to, or inspired by. And you know, it's going to be different for everyone, but your points are great. So thanks for sharing that.
No, you're welcome.
So the next thing I want to kind of touch on, and being mindful of time as well, is, you know, you've done a lot in the last, you know, 4 years, and obviously before moving to Tassie as well. Is there anything, you know, do you have a certain approach around how you tackle goals or how you take action? And you've alluded to different things. You know, you were able to reflect and realize, you know, things aren't adding up to where you're wanting to be. But, you know, you're doing an MBA now, you've got hobbies, you've got so many other things that you're doing in your life. But do you have an approach, or is it just you just go with it and take one step at a time, and as things open up, you follow along? Or is there an approach around tackling goals and taking action?
Yeah, I think initially I used to just go with the flow, but I've kind of, yeah, like I said, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, started to take a more proactive approach. And um, something that I've actually found to be quite beneficial is literally just at the end of the year or at the start of the year, just literally writing a list of your top 3 to 5 goals, and whether that's personal, professional, you know, have it there in paper to almost keep you accountable. But you don't have to look at it every day. But it's good to sort of look back and reflect and go, actually, I've actually ticked 1, 2 of these things off. I can probably reach the 3rd goal that I've put down. So I've been doing that since, I think, 2017. I've seen that in my phone. I found my notes there, and surprisingly, I've ticked off a couple along the way. And that's kind of, maybe it's, you know, not subconsciously it's been happening, but it's something that once it's written down, it kind of feels like, okay, this is real. This is something that I want to sort of be held accountable to, and go back and work towards now. So I think actually putting it down, you know, on paper or digitally on your phone, really helps with you to actually go and achieve what it is, rather than just talking about it and saying it, because it's easy just to do that and then move on very quickly. But if you've actually got it physically somewhere that you can go back and review, and go, actually, it's been 4 months and I haven't really started any of these, you can go, okay, what am I going to do from here moving forward? And I've got my 2021 goals actually in the front of my phone, which I don't know if you can see, but it's right there up the top, and it says 2021 goals. So it's on my home screen, and it lets me know basically. And I think that's only 4 that I have, but there's 1.
So
2, I guess.
I couldn't read them, but is there any you want to share? Or
well, 1 was to upskill, I guess, and then it's got dash start postgrad course. So that's happened. So that's a tick there. I had learn a new life skill, and I put in brackets building, which I haven't quite started that one just yet. I know we've got some you know, tasks around the home that we can do, but that's something I just thought, because I've never really been, I guess, a hands-on person in that aspect. You know, I hate flat packed items and those sort of things, but it's something that's like, it's a skill that I probably need to learn. So that's something I've got there. And then I guess another, in terms of professional, all right, next step in career, in brackets, a management role. So that's something as well I'd like to sort of achieve this year too. So that's kind of 3 of the 4 that I've got down.
yeah, no,
that's something.
That's really good. And I think the way you've once again, you know, there's no right or wrong answer for these things, and everyone will have a different way of how they, you know, track their goals or do their goals or take action and, you know, reflect and manage. And I really like your approach, because it is, you've put it down and it's close to you, and you don't have to voice it out to the world, but to you, it's keeping you accountable. And yeah, you could come back 4 months and realize, okay, poop, I haven't done it. But in the back of your mind, you know, okay, you got to be doing things. It's keeping you accountable. And then when you do that reflection piece, you know, because I actually do this very similar. I do write down the things that I want, and I am trying to track to them religiously, but at the same time, sometimes they're prompting me, and it helps me, you know, just make sure I'm pivoting or navigating towards that, where I want that to be. And, you know, I have them close to me so I can check in. And then sometimes you might realize that, you know, you get halfway through the year and you do have that reflection, you realize, okay, this goal wasn't realistic, or clearly it wasn't part of what I want to achieve. And, you know, it was just more of an ambition. And because sometimes when we get out to achieve goals, we hit the reality and realize, okay, how do we pivot that goal to get us closer to what we're really wanting? And sometimes that goal is just a stepping point. So I think the way you've done it is really, really good. So kudos and good luck with the building stuff, because it's great to be able to have that random kind of thing, which is challenging you in different ways, right? And that's really cool.
And we've still got time. I know.
Yeah.
I know we've got we've got planned to do an outdoor sort of kitchen barbecue. So.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, that's ideally before December, summer next season type of thing to have it ready by. So what's that? 8 months away.
You got plenty of time, mate. But it will go quick. It will go quick.
It will. So thank God for YouTube and DIY videos.
Well, that's it, man. That's it. Yeah. I mean, we can do anything we put our minds to, and I think that's a really good segue to and you don't have to go into super detail for this if you don't want to, but one of the things I wanted to really understand from you is, because you have done a lot of, navigating, mapping or planning of career, and you've kind of already mentioned around that, this year trying to get into a bit more management, but, have you got anything in terms of a 2-year or a 5-year kind of plan? And if you don't, that's fine as well. But, do you have anything like in 2 years, it would be good to see, that you're doing this, or in 5 years, it'd be great to be able to say, this is what I've wanted to have achieved. Do you have anything like that in mind, or?
Yeah, definitely, and it is progressing. So whether or not it's in where I'm currently situated, or if it's working for one of the professional sports teams now that we have in Tasmania, I mean that would be a goal of mine to potentially work for them. And yeah, like I said, to progress in my career and progression for me, it's never been about the financial side of things and the monetary side of things. It's always been about to be able to be in a position to influence decision making and change. And I think that's the big thing for me. Because right now, I suppose I'm in that position where I'm an executioner, and then by that sense, you get handed down directives, I suppose, and then you go out and you execute and you go and do it. But for me, it's to be able to be in a position where I'm in that decision-making room. I get to influence some positive changes, and for me, that's a big thing. And I guess there's a lot of other personal factors to that too. And a lot of it is we're seeing this shift, I suppose, in the workplace where there is this. We're starting to get a balance now with gender equality, which is amazing. But I guess for me, being a person of color, and you don't really see many people that look like me in senior management roles, and that's what I'm looking to kind of inspire, I guess, for the next generation of people that might come from an African background, or like myself, where I've got African, Timorese, and Portuguese background in me, or they might come from an Indigenous background, or they might come from from a different culture and a different heritage, where they're not seeing people like themselves in senior management positions. But for me, that's where I'd kind of like to influence this change and change that narrative in a sense, because sometimes it is tough. And I do find it a bit challenging when I look at, several boards, or I look at, the organizational chart, and I kind of start to pick where the similarities are. And I go, well, could I see myself in there? Is there those opportunities? Is there that, that unconscious bias type of thing? And I know I haven't really, everyone I work with is amazing, and I haven't really experienced it in that sense overtly, but sometimes I do have that sort of insecurities where I'm like, is it something that's potentially holding me back? And maybe that drives me to work harder, because maybe I feel like I've got double to prove in that aspect, so to speak. But that's something I'd like to see, I guess, become a little bit more of the norm, and sort of see that scale go up a little bit. And maybe, I guess, in Tassie, it might just be a numbers thing, where the demographic, it's not as multicultural as maybe some of the larger cities like your Melbourne and your Sydneys, so to speak, as well. But for me, that's something as well that's kind of, I'd like to see in the next 2 to 5 years, if I can kind of get to that position, and really just, I guess, inspire, maybe the next crop of people that are looking to, get into the workforce and go, hey, there are, when we talk about diversity in the workforce, they go, hey, it is a diverse workforce. And obviously, I'd like to be there for the right reasons. I don't want it to be, a tokenistic type of progression or, promotion type of thing. But for me, that's kind of my 2 to 5 year plan. I'd like to finish my MBA. I'd like to sort of continue working on these large scale projects that I'm working on. But I really sort of want to drive change and really influence, that positive, work culture. And really, when we talk about diversity, I really want it to be embraced and shine through in the workplace, and, make, have people have a true understanding of what that means. And, really just embrace, because, we're all people of different shapes, sizes, colors, backgrounds, religions, sexualities, you name it, but, I want us to all sort of be able to have those same opportunities, and feel that same sort of level of comfort in the workplace, and know that it's not going to be a barrier to entry, to your next sort of role, and to your next sort of career step.
Yeah, dude, that's so good, because at the end of the day, there's the quote around, be the change that you want to see in the world, right? And it's a really good goal to have, because it's not really specific in terms of like, I want this XYZ, but I think the way you've presented it, because you can help define or create that goal in all that you're doing, right? Because you can, express that, you can show that, you can lead, and demonstrate by leading, right? So that's really cool, dude. And I think you'll have no problem achieving it, because you seem to be very, very switched on when it comes to taking the right steps and the next actions.
Yeah, thank you. Try to be.
The next thing I want to jump into is just a series of rapid fire questions, and just short and sweet. So whether it's the first thing that comes to mind, or obviously if you have an exact answer, then that's fine too. But we'll jump into it. There's about 3 or 4 of them. The first one being, what's something which has always been a challenge, or that has stopped you from progressing?
I think impatience, to be honest. Sometimes I want things, and I want things now, or I want things to happen straight away. So
Okay.
I think definitely that's been a challenge where, I won't lie, it's my impatience in some instance where maybe that's got me in trouble in the past. But it's definitely something that I am consciously working on and improving on, and just understanding that if you do want something, it will take time as well.
Well, dude, that was the last thing I expected, because everything I feel like we've been talking about is, taking the time, taking the steps, and it's good. Once again, that self-awareness, it's really, really good, dude. I think we can all take a bit more of that, have a bit more patience in our life. So kudos. All right. The next one is, if money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing?
Probably sports commentary. That's something I'd love to do, and whether that's at a local level, at like a grassroots level, or at a professional level, it's something I've loved. And when I was younger, it's something that I wanted to get into, like that broadcast side of things. So if money wasn't an issue, I'd love to do that just as a hobby, and just give back to the community in that sense. But I don't know, that's the first thing that came to the top of my head.
That's why we're doing it. We'll keep moving on then, so we can have the rapidness. So, favorite book you have read?
To be honest, I'm not that much of a reader, I must lie, unless it's my textbooks now.
Well, that's fine. It can be a textbook, or something you've listened, or it doesn't even have to be a book, something that you've read. The first thing that comes to mind.
It sounds really corny, but probably something from the Harvard Business Review website. I like to read their articles.
No, dude, that's great, because we all have our different ways of how we learn. And like, I hate reading, so I started listening to audiobooks, and that's been so much more beneficial for me. Whereas a lot of people, they don't read, but they listen to podcasts. And the Harvard Business Review, there's some really top-notch stuff in there. And there's nothing wrong. Is there anything in particular, or you just like to open it up and see what's flying?
Yeah, depending on what the topics are. Yeah, so I usually just like to sort of pick something that catches my attention, or I think would be really interesting to read. But obviously podcasts are a big one. I'm a huge podcast listener. Need to get into the audio books, I think, as well. But podcasts are my commute to and from work every day. It's a must.
Good stuff. And then the final rapid thing is, what's 3 favorite hobbies or things you like to do when you're resting or in your own free time?
Yeah, definitely. So at the moment, probably jiu-jitsu is probably my number one hobby. At the minute, it's something I've been doing for the last 6 months, or 7 months now. Had a bit of a break for the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks because I had glandular fever, but was back at it this week and just really missed it, and really realized how much I enjoyed it. So that's just been something that's just been so beneficial mentally, physically. The community we have at our school is just amazing, and just got to meet so many great people down there. Everyone's just so kind, humble, and supportive. I'd definitely recommend doing jiu-jitsu if I was out there, to anybody that's looking for a challenge physically and mentally, that's for sure. Yeah, it's just really one of those sort of things that you're gonna take away and sort of wish that you did sooner. I know I did. Yeah, photography is another one that I've taken a liking to, and I've had a bit of a break from at the minute, but yeah, I've been able to sort of dust it off in recent weeks. But that's something I'm looking to sort of take up again, and I think it just went on the back burner for a little bit when work picked up and went back into studies. But that's something that I really enjoy doing as well. And yeah, the third thing I suppose is just being with my family, being with my wife and my little one, and just soaking in as much time as I can with them. So yeah, that's probably something that I guess I don't want to take for granted, and just really want to be appreciative of their company and their time and their love. So yeah, definitely throw that one in there. That's for sure.
Awesome. No, that's really good, man. It's behind everyone. We all have amazing things that we love to do, and sometimes they're not even relevant to the things that we do as work. And of course, then we have our families and we have our loved ones and friendships, which help us get through all those things as well. So some great hobbies and things to do in your pastime. So that's really cool. All right, so dude, I mean, we've touched on so much, and once again, there's so many things where I think we could probably spend a full episode on, just tapping into. And but I think that's the beauty of it. Is the intent of this is to get people to hear from you and understand what you're all about, and then for people to reach out to you and to connect and dive a little deeper. And I'm really honored to be able to have you on here. And what I love about this is, because the podcast is all about passions, hustles, and lifestyles. And the one thing I wanted to make sure is that it's not just about you have to be doing everything but the 9 to 5, right? And be focusing on that side gig or building this or building your own business, when that's not the case. What I want to really bring out, which is why you're so important for this, is that you can be pursuing your passions or have that hustle or build a lifestyle, no matter whether it is a 9 to 5 or whether it is building your own business. And hearing from you around navigating and getting into those areas of industry that you're passionate about, and learning along the way and building your own who you are and what you enjoy, I think that's super important for everyone, whether you're coming straight from high school or if you're wanting a career change at 30 or 40, because these are all key elements, and it's never too late to start. And I think whether it is taking an MBA or doing a course in learning how to draw, right? There's complete differences there, but they're just as important to hear from everyone's perspective. So thank you for sharing all this. It's been really, really great. And what I wanted to give you the chance to share was, is there anything, or is there one thing that you would, if the listeners were to take away from this, what would that be?
I think just really just follow what you want to do. And I know depending on whether you're in school or university, it can be tough and things change, and you can do pivots, and it's not a bad thing. I know early on I kind of felt it was a taboo to quit university and start something fresh, but that happens. So if you're not totally invested in something, don't be afraid to pull the pin and actually go and pursue what it is that you want to do. And try not to let, I guess, others influence you in that aspect. Just do what you want to do and follow the path that you want to take. So that's probably the biggest thing I'd take away from this is, you've only got one crack at life. So you might as well, enjoy and enjoy the things that you're going to do along the way. So that would be my biggest takeaway.
Perfect. That's really good. And if people want to reach out, or what's the best way to connect to you? Is it Instagram, a website? How can, and this will all be in the show notes, but just so we can hear
definitely.
it.
Yeah, so Instagram at Clint De Fig, so CLINT DEFIG. Same thing, you can follow me on LinkedIn as well. I won't spell my last name, but they can get it in the show link for you there. But I'm quite active on both, so definitely feel free to connect there. And if there's any questions, or if you want any advice, or just want to chat, just feel free to connect there. But
it's been a great pleasure having you on here, and yeah, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. It's been great to have this conversation and to connect, and definitely, like I said, I'm a huge supporter, and we'll keep sort of following and listening along. And seeing where you go with this as well and how this grows. So no, I'm excited to see sort of your journey and your path, and who knows, this could blow up into a whole, you know,
Hope so.
podcast picked up and, you know, bought out by Spotify. So you never know, or Apple, you know, whoever it might be. So no, I'm really excited to see where this progresses. And yeah, I'm just thankful that, you know, you wanted to speak to us
Oh
and
yeah.
to have me on. So
Dude, I mean, I mean, onwards and upwards. Yeah, I've got big ambitions, but it's the same thing. It's the patience, the game, and building the platform. And, you know, it's great to be able to have you part of that, because I've since day one, when we originally connected, you know, there was an intent behind that, because, you know, what I saw you doing, what you were creating, and, you know, just who you are as a person stood out to me. But yeah, dude, thanks so much. This has been great. It's been good.
definitely, no, thank you. And yeah, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. So no, thank you again.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We're still here. So I just want to say once again a big thank you to Clint for coming on to the podcast, because it's been absolutely great to be able to hear his story and how he's been able to navigate and take action and, you know, really bring his jobs and dream jobs into action. Now, obviously, he's still got a long way to go and he still has aspirations, but hearing it from him and how he's doing it, it's been inspiring for myself, and it's always encouraging to hear other people's perspectives and approaches and how they go about doing these things. So I hope you've learned something. Make sure you do check out the show notes in case there's something there which you wanted to be able to take away. Of course, also go check out his socials. Check him out on LinkedIn. Hit him up if you'd like to ask another question, or if you just, you know, wanted to follow along to his journey and see what else he gets up to. I really do appreciate you tuning in. My name's Chris Furlong. I am the host of the Furrii Your Lifestyle podcast, and it's been an absolute honor to have you a part of this conversation. And I look forward to talking to you next time.